Hello everyone, my name is Varvara Magnisali and I'm here today to talk to you about gymnast mental health and how to identify symptoms of mental distress. Our mental health affects the way we perceive and interpret things, the way we feel, act and think, the way we perceive ourselves, the world around us, how we relate to others and how we cope with different situations. World Health Organization defines mental health as the foundation for the well-being and effective functioning of individuals. It is the ability to think, learn and understand one's emotions and the reactions of others. It's a state of balance within and with the environment. And of course, it is linked with physical health. But why is mental health important for the athlete? First and foremost is a human right to feel happy, safe and healthy in the sport. Moreover, a gymnast with strong mental health is aware of her own abilities and difficulties, so her self-value and self-esteem does not depend on the results of the performance. What is more, strong mental health helps the athlete cope with everyday life stressors in and out of sports. She interprets obstacles as challenges, which can make her mentally tougher, help her perform well regardless of the conditions that she's facing, and of course coaches can properly work with a healthy athlete, physically and mentally, in order to achieve their common goals. Indeed, FIG emphasizes the importance of gymnasts' mental and physical health while prioritizing it above medals and results. Nowadays, it is more than obvious that athletes' mental health matters. There are studies showing that elite athletes are more likely to suffer from some mental disorders compared to the general population, maybe because, except from typical challenges of their age group, they also have to manage additional demands of their sport. Let's check some statistical data. Gymnasts show a much higher rate of disordered eating than other athletes, with levels at between 51 to 62%. 30% of female student athletes report having anxiety. Student athletes are more likely to experience mental health conditions than the general population. 35% of elite athletes suffer from disordered eating, burnout, depression or anxiety. Only 10% of all college athletes with known mental health conditions seek care from a mental health professional, which reflects the stigma behind mental illness. 13 to 23.2% of adolescents self-harm worldwide, and in 2021, 5 female athletes suicide. So the question is, why do athletes develop mental health issues? Findings suggest that specific personality characteristics like perfectionism can impact gymnast mental health. Perfectionism is a personality trait where the athlete demands excessively high performance with overly critical self-evaluation. Can be encouraged by parents, coaches or others, and is associated with negative mood, anxiety, anger or even depressive disorder. Also, the athletic identity, the degree to which an individual views itself according to a specific role. Athletes whose identity is strongly tied with their sport are at high risk for developing mental health issues like depression symptomatology and lower levels of self-esteem, which have also associated with greater risk for depression, anxiety and social anxiety. Of course, the time demands. Athletes' daily routine is demanding, full of obligations and little or no time for leisure activities and enough resting time. The competitive nature of sport can lead also to unrealistic expectations and increased stress levels. Athletes strive to be always focused, motivated and on top, which can lead to mental fatigue and burnout. The culture of sports, where winning is the ultimate goal, sometimes even winning at all costs, and athletes cannot be vulnerable as this means they are weak, and mental illness is faulty associated with weakness. Performance success. The pressure to succeed can be overwhelming and can come from coaches, clubs, organizations, parents, fans, and others, or even themselves, and can lead to fear of failure or making mistakes. Gymnasts are usually afraid of disappointing themselves and the others. Of course, the interpersonal issues with coaches or the team. Coach is like a second parent to the gymnast, is the person whom they ask for acceptance, care, understanding, who influences deeply their perception of themselves and their abilities. And therefore, a maladaptive relationship and cooperation with a coach can negatively affect their mental health. An injury or return from an injury can also promote feelings of fear, anxiety, anger, isolation, low confidence, low motivation. Those feelings can lead to mental health issues such as depression and anxiety. On the other hand, stress can increase the risk of injury and their ability to rehabilitate from injury. Overtraining without adequate rest and recovery time can result in mood changes, decreased motivation, frequent injuries, and mental health issues, including, again, anxiety and depression. Parents, also a key stressor, through low support, negative or critical feedback, anger, unrealistic expectations, or inappropriate behavior during competition or training. Unexpected life events, like a divorce or death of a loved one, can cause a plethora of difficult feelings and a hard affliction to manage. Harassment and abuse, acts of neglect, physical, sexual and emotional abuse occurring by coaches, parents, officials, medical staff and others, which also consist high-risk indicators. On that slide you can see that 2 to 48% of athletes will experience sexual abuse. 19 to 92 will be subjected to some form of sexual harassment, and the shocking number of 75% of youth athletes reflects emotional abuse during organized sport. Good news! IOC and FIG has developed an educational, preventive and implementing action plan for safe sports in which everyone has access and the ability to report an incident of harassment or abuse. So now let's move to signs and symptoms of possible mental health issues. It's really important for all coaches to be able to detect the signs, the difficulties that gymnasts face in her everyday life, in and out of the gym, and ways to support her as a coach. So, before analyzing symptoms, it's important to know the answer at those 3 questions. Question 1. So, as a coach, am I responsible for mental health issues detection? The answer is yes. You have the responsibility and the capability to detect signs or symptoms that might be connected with a mental illness. You are at the ideal position as you spend so much time with a gymnast. You have considerable power and influence with her, so to increase the likelihood from them to receive timely and effective treatment. And of course, by early detection, you can minimize the effects of the disorder on your athlete's mental health and performance. Second, how can I determine if there is an issue? In general, any changes in athletes' behaviors, feelings, attitude, which remain more than 3 weeks, should not be ignored. Those changes do not necessarily confirm the presence of a mental health issue, but it's definitely something that triggers your gymnast's mentality, so worth attention. Question 3. My athlete has to quit from the sport. Mental illness does not necessarily mean quitting. The athlete can still do it if the mental health specialist gives permission, while she can also take care of herself. So let's start by talking about mood disorders or depression. Risk factors associated with depressive symptoms include genetic predisposition, hypothyroidism, specific life events like death in family, relationship issues with parents or the coach, bullying, abuse or harassment, and athlete sports performance like an injury or overtraining syndrome. Moving on to symptoms, coach can detect low or sad moods, often with crying episodes, irritability, eating and sleeping disturbance, feeling worthless, decrease in energy and activity levels, in concentration and motivation, social withdrawal, unhelpful thinking patterns like there is no point, I'm useless, no one cares, thoughts of death or suicide, and self-harming behaviors or suicide attempts. Impact on performance, as you can imagine, when athletes' mental health is at risk, her performance would probably suffer. In case of depression, you will notice low energy levels, lower motivation, maybe she will express a desire to quit or she will quit, poor concentration, poorer performance in general, and a high risk of injuries. Moving on, next mental health issue, anxiety disorders like generalized anxiety disorder, panic disorder, etc. Competitive performance anxiety has to do mostly with an athlete's fear around their selection of being part of a team, fear of not performing in the desired manner, or that the situation would be too challenging, harmful, or dangerous. Performance pressure, genetic predisposition, specific life events, sporting career uncertainty, dissatisfaction, an injury, or coming back from it, social judgment, bullying, harassment, or abuse can be great risk factors. About symptoms, feelings of stress and worry may be normal, especially before competition, but when we talk about anxiety disorder, we will detect changes in behavior, excessive worry or fear, unhelpful thinking patterns like I'll fail, I must win the gold, the coach will be disappointed by me, sleeping or eating disturbance, fear that she's dying or getting crazy, that she's losing control, and physiological signs like pounding heart, shortness of breath, etc. And of course impaired concentration. Again, performance would suffer through low concentration and attention, the fear of trying or risking, of disappointing others. She will express low motivation, low performance, and a risk of injury. Another mental illness, especially in aesthetic sports, is eating disorders and disordered eating. Some athletes and coaches feel that calorie restriction and weight loss can improve sport performance. However, long-term continuation of calorie restriction can lead to low energy levels, great risk of injuries, and a plethora of other health issues. Genetic factors, sociocultural pressures regarding thinness, family issues, transition periods can be great risk factors. Even if gymnast's primary goal is to lose weight, there is a hidden intention to feel she has control over things and the ability to cope with life. Symptoms of a problematic relationship with food are changes in behavior, preoccupation with weight, food or calories, seeming uncomfortable eating around others, withdrawal from usual friends and activities, extreme concern with body size and shape, frequent checking in the mirror, difficulties concentrating, extreme mood swings, sleeping problems, injuries or body pains like stomachaches, headaches. Of course, performance is negatively affected as the gymnast has low energy levels, suffers from muscular pain and have great risk of injuries, expresses lower motivation, feelings of depression and anxiety, and low performance. Now, I'd like to discuss what coaches should do to help. Firstly, create a non-stigmatized environment where help seeking can be normalized. Athletes, in their effort not to show weaknesses as they worry about what others think about themselves and their abilities, prefer to silently suffer. Stigma is there, and most athletes feel that they are alone and that this situation cannot change. Especially in gymnastics, where athletes are really young and they don't know that there is a solution, a treatment, so they hesitate to talk about it. So, as a coach, talk to her, empathize, sit down with her, listen with an open mind, and reassure her that you are there for her. You can't fix the problem, it's not your job, so it's important to let her know that she's not alone. So your mission is to understand the situation, not judging, not making your point. Ensure confidentiality and privacy. It's a key point in order the athlete to feel safe to share her concerns. Ask directly if she's thinking of hurting herself or has hurt herself or she's thinking of dying. I know this question is tough, but you have to do it. And if your athlete is hesitating, even if she says no, inform parents and refer them to a mental health specialist. Encourage her to talk and ask for help. Tell her you have some concerns, you care about her, and you'd like to help her seek further assistance. Reassure her that in that way she will feel better eventually, and as a result she will perform better. Of course, inform parents, have an open and honest conversation with them, expressing your concerns, and reassure them that you will work together as a team. Refer the athlete to a mental health professional like a psychiatrist, psychologist. Some athletes refuse to visit one. However, if you make a specific referral, it's easier to accept, or if you're willing to take them to him or her. Keep in touch with a mental health professional in order to know how to approach and support the athlete. It's necessary to be informed and educated on gymnast difficulties, and also a great opportunity to reflect on your coaching philosophy and maybe develop more helpful strategies. Remember that it's important to care about your gymnast's well-being as a whole person. Of course, performance and results are important, but in order to help them reach their potential, they have to be healthy first. Proceed to training adjustments, so you minimize stressors that may negatively affect their mental health, for example, the training load, recovery time, or giving a break. And of course, grab the opportunity to inform and educate all athletes, coaches, parents, other staff members of your organization, club, about mental health issues and services. So, to recap, don't forget that athletes are humans too. They have to cope with complex issues like everyone else, so they will experience up and down emotions. They are not immune to the stresses of life. Remember that gymnast health and safety is always the primary consideration. Promote a change in sport culture. Winning at all costs, it's not the case. Medals and victories are great, but we can't make it if we're not healthy. Help break the stigma of mental illness as a weakness. In the contrary, vulnerability is a strength, and as long as we realize it and accept it, we will be more open asking for help and support in order to approach the life that we are willing to live. Coach's role is to identify and refer, not to treat, so don't be afraid to make the first move. And of course, we need to lead by example. So talk about your feelings, your vulnerable side of yourself, and this will strengthen your relationship, the trust between you, the intimacy, and the understanding. Thank you for your attention. I'm available to answer your questions by email if there is one. Thank you again.